My intention this evening is to make a nut bowl, and if I can just go to my overhead camera, and that's a nut bowl, and there's a nut cracker. I'm going to show two options with this, so one with the mechanical nut cracker and one with this sort of very mechanical nut cracker, I suppose. And these are walnuts which I gathered up from my driveway. My neighbours have walnut trees, so and it seems to work quite well, although I think either the rats or the squirrels have already had a go at that one there, so we shall see. But that's what I intend to make. I'm going to use ash, and for the little mallet I'm going to use a piece of Ekki, which is really, it's ironwood. It's really heavy, so it gives a good clout on your nuts, so to speak. So I'll start with that, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to start making the little hammer first, and this is just, again, just spindle turning. I need to find my face mask, which I put down somewhere. There it is, over there. Excuse me when I come out of frame. I've got to dance a bit. I'm tethered by a microphone lead and a headphone lead, so it's hopefully you can still hear me okay through this lot, can you? Yeah, good. Just nod if you can't. No nods, that's really good. Okay, so this is a piece of Ekki. My hammer head is going to be about 60 millimeters. And obviously I'm going to put a rounded bit over here. Before I get ahead of myself, I need to drill a hole for the shaft of the hammer to go. And what I've done is I've set my bit here. This is a 15 mil bit, and I set the center on center there. And if I lock my spindle, there we go. And I'm going to drill a hole. This is 15 mil. I'm only going to go in about 5 or 6 mil. That's just to hide the top of the hammer, because this will have a slight slope on it when we come to it. So I'm just going to drill. A little bit deeper than that, I think. There we go, and that's just deep enough there to allow the top of the hammer to be hidden, so you don't see any unsightly bits and pieces. Now I'm going to change the bit for a 10 mil, which will be the top of the shaft of the little hammer. So this is a 10 mil bit going in, and I'm going to drill all the way through. If I'm lucky enough, I'll see it come out this side. If I'm unlucky enough, I'll burst through, and then there'll be a little bit of breakout. The diameter of this I want to be about 32 to 33 mil. This is 35 now, so if I do get a little bit of a breakout at the back, it shouldn't make that much difference. This really smokes. There's lots of oil in this wood, I believe. So I'm just going to clear that out of the way now. Or a nut bowl with a nut cracker. There we go, just starting to come out the other side. So if I now turn this 180, right, so there we go. So now I've got a 10 mil hole all the way through, and I've got a 15 mil hole, just enough to bury if I can point it with this, just enough to bury the top of the mallet handle, that's all. So I'm going to do a little bit of turning now, I hope. So they're going to have a sort of a fat end and a thinner end, and I'll turn the thinner end towards the chuck. So I just want to round this off. Is there any brand new turners amongst us at all? Just sort of wave at me if you are. No? That's good. So I won't explain too much. I mean, if you think I'm doing something wrong, then put something in the comments and I'll try and correct it. Spindle gouge. This is about 13 mil, I think, something like that. And obviously you're going to keep the flute open to start with, and then as I pick up the cut, I'm going to close the flute and move it round to the side so that I get a nice curve. If I don't move it round to the side, I get a nice chamfer. So towards the end here, it's taken off. There's the cut going. and then closing the flute as I come round the corner, and a bit more. And you can see already it's starting to come a little bit on the round side. It's a little bit oversized, so I can take it down in diameter just a little bit to get rid of the breakout when I came through there. Right, and this to the left here, it's going to be slightly narrower, so I'm just going to reduce its diameter a little bit. And then I'm just going to use a parting tool to mark where I'm going to go in. That's it. Oh, there you go. See, that's why I'm an amateur, because I keep getting catches. Plus I'm very close to the end of my tool rest there, which is not a good thing to do. So I'm just going to reduce the diameter a little bit just to get rid of that breakout with a roughing gouge. And I'm looking for about 32, 33 mil there. I got rid of the breakout, which is good. So that's about the shape of it. Now I can refine that just a little bit on the top here. It's a bit too pointed. I'll be doing very little sanding for two reasons. A, I've got lots of cameras around here and I don't want to get too much dust on them. And my extractor is right next to me on the right hand side here, so it makes a real lot of noise. I mean, I may do just a little bit of sanding just to refine things a little bit. And that squeaky noise is because it's so thin at that end now and it's just vibrating a little bit. Perhaps I should have refined this end before I went so narrow down there. Right, what I'll do, I'll just give it a little bit of a sand here. Just get rid of some of the tool, but it doesn't make a huge amount of dust, this stuff, but the ash does. Okay, that's fine. I'll finish that off later on. What I will do, I'm going to put some... The finish I'm using tonight for all of this is a mineral oil. For those who know, white beeswax and very high grade surgical mineral oil. Plus, I'm sure he adds a few other bits and pieces to it. It's food safe. It gives a nice finish, particularly to this Ekki. And then the next thing to do then, of course, is to take that off. Whichever means you fancy. I'm just going to cut it off for now. Obviously you could take a lot longer, and then you need to sand the end just to get it finished off. Okay, so there's the mallet part, or the head part of it. I'm going to now put a piece of ash in, and I'm going to put a bit of ash in, and I think the handle's about 7 or 8 inches long. It's not terribly long. And I'm going to support that with a live centre, pointy one. Okay, so just tighten that up now. There's quite a lot of material on this to lose, so I will be a while getting this down to its size. I've got 2 or 3 tool rests, and for some reason this one here is just a fraction wider. I think it's the difference between 1 inch and 25 mil. So this is quite difficult to get in and out sometimes, this one. Right, there we go, we're all nice and tight, all secured. So I'm going to make the fat end up here, the handle, and I'm going to turn this end bit down to about 10 mil to go through the hammer head, to go through the head. So actually I'm going to start off with the roughing gouge just to hog some of this material away. I'm just going to mark my ends a bit, so I'll be waste off that end, and I'll be waste and below that, so I can get rid of some of this waste now. While you've got a nice large lump of wood like this is sort of a good time to practice, you know, sort of doing some of your beads and coves and things. So you could practice doing the whole load and then just whip them off and then get down to your final size. Don't want this too big, but at the same time you want it big enough to fit in your palm quite nicely. Get rid of the whole load of this now. Right, now I know the top of my mallet needs to be 10 mil, so I'm going to grab a 10 mil spanner and just reduce it down to about 10 mil. Okay, about 10 mil. And it needs to be, if I can find my, that needs to be about, ooh, what's that? About 34 mil long. So 34, we'll take it to about there. And then that little tiny bit after that needs to be down to 15 mil. Needs to be just a little bit longer so it goes right the way through, otherwise it looks a bit unsightly if you don't get it all the way through the head of the hammer. Okay, it's about 10 mil, and just want to make sure I've got enough to go through. It's at about 34, 32, 34, that's about 32 there, which should be fine. The next bit then I'm going to turn down to 15 mil. So I'll just grab another trusty spanner at 15 mil. Oh, gone too far, oh, that's a shame, isn't it? Right, that's okay. What I can do is I'm just going to make this 10 mil here. And I'll just take a little less. A little less off. A bit more. Now just a smidge more. That's about right, so that's okay. So that's the bit that's going to go up inside the bottom of the hammer. Just make sure I've got 10mm across here. Not quite. Okay, that should be nice. Squeezy fit on there. And then I can just finish off the shaping the handle. Again, I can get rid of some more of this material. You don't want to be pushing too hard now because it's supported at, you know, only by 10mm at that end and 10 to 15mm at the other end. Right, I think what I might do is just put a little couple of small beads up in here. Very bead shape, that is it. And I'll just reduce that diameter to something a little more reasonable. I mean, the length of the handle is not critical. Whatever you feel most comfortable for yourself, but not too long. If you make it too long, it looks wrong, and it feels wrong when you're bashing your nuts. Vibration there because it's not supported particularly well along its length. I will do just a little bit of sanding on this, just to... That's not too bad actually. I'll just sand it. I wouldn't bother sanding where it's going to go through because we're going to glue that into the end in a minute. Where we disappear into the haze now with this ash. This is bone dry, this ash, for some reason. It really is. I work at a place called the Street Forge in Thorn Magna, where we, you know, it's for disabled people really, and I do support them there. You know, a bit of wood turning. They make bird boxes and all the rest of it, which are actually cracking bird boxes. So if you ever want a Christmas present, pay a visit to Thorn Magna. And you find some really good bird boxes, hedgehog houses, kestrel boxes, all sorts they make. And we do quite a lot of wood turning. And flavour of the month has been an angel, little angels, and I laser cut wings to go on these angels. We can't make enough of them. And they'll be selling for, well, we sell them for $5 each, but they look pretty good to hang it on a Christmas tree. Right, there we go. That's the handle almost done. So again, I'm going to go to this. I would probably use oil on an oil finish of some description, but this is Darren Breeze's concoction. Don't want to get any on the end there, otherwise the glue won't take to it very well. And this dries fairly quickly. It's also good for sanding. You can, if you're into wet sanding, this stuff is really good for wet sanding because it's so, I mean, you can see how oily that rag is. It really is oily. So what I'll do, I'll just work that in. The beeswax, the mineral oil will soak in, the beeswax will go off a little bit. And it sort of gives an olive tinge to the wood, although this is white and basically clear when it melts. But it does make the wood look quite nice. I'm not sure how long it will last, but okay, and as before, I will now cut this off with my little trusty pull saw. And while it's still attached, I'm just going to make sure that the top of the mallet sort of fits in there. Yeah, there we go. And just protrudes a little bit here, which we can cut off later on. But we'll glue that in later. So again, I can cut this off now here. And then finish that with a bit of sandpaper. So that we finish off with sandpaper. We'll put a bit of glue on here. I'll find the glue. There it is. Sorry, I keep on putting my back to the camera, but everything's behind me. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on here now. Doesn't need a huge amount. It's quite a tight fit anyway. There we go. There we go. There's a little mallet with a hammer. You can cut that off now, sand it back, and there's your mallet made. So there's a mallet. Next we're going to put on the bowl to cut, and again I'm using about an 8.5 inch, 9 inch, not sure what it was when we first cut it off the board. I think the board was 9 inch, but by the time we got a round out of it, it was slightly less. I'll just get rid of this one. Anybody any questions at all while I'm changing chucks and things? I think I would. Hello? The darker wood, it was called Ekki or Ironwood. Yeah, Ekki, E-K-K-I. And I'm not sure where it's from. We were given a whole load at the Street Forge for... it came in a big chunk about 18 inches long by 6 by 6, so it was all cracked, so we managed to get 1 or 2 bowls out of it, so the rest of it's gone for, you know, small spindle work. So this is an 8-inch piece of ash, which I've already sort of taken it around a little bit. It's mounted on a faceplate. If I just take that off a second, I'll tell you what, you can use a screw chuck for this first method if you haven't got big faceplate. If you've got a small faceplate and you put long screws in, then you're going to run into trouble for the simple reason, if those screws end up going into this part, see, with a screw chuck is fine, you've got enough depth here in the center, but if you use a faceplate with the screws are a bit closer together, so I had to buy this one separate. This one was made on a screw chuck. I think I've just got the very base of my drill in the bottom of this here. You can see. So that's ash. So that's what we're going to make, and I'll show you an alternative method at the end of this, very briefly anyway. So I am going to put in a tenon on here, which is quite large, the biggest jaws I've got, and these are 120 millimeters. You want the bowl to be fairly chunky, so hence it's got quite thick walls. It's got a lot of mass in the middle because that's where you're going to be bashing in breaking the nuts on. I did put a little bit of design on the back here using the elf, little elf, is it Hamlet elf or whatever it's called, just to make it look a little bit different. but that's 120mm dovetail in there. If you're worried about showing, you know, your chucking point in your work, then you could reverse chuck this and get rid of all of that at the end, but I quite like it, and it saves a little bit of time, particularly if you're going to try and sell them anywhere. Right, so I'll start off on centre so I can cut the dovetail for the chucking point. Let's get rid of that. Don't need to stab my arm on that, don't need that anymore. And I'm going to go to a bowl gouge, and I'm going to cut the dovetail first, don't I? So I'm going to mark it at about there, and I only want about 2 or 3mm. I don't need a huge amount. See how dry this wood is, the amount of dust it's making. Then I get the bowl gouge, and I'm just going to take that across to the centre. Didn't really want to catch that. Now you can put any sort of design you'd like in the base of this, but for time I will just put a few simple rings in there, so just flattening it off a bit, making sure I've got about 3 or 4 mil. And my dovetail tool I've left hanging on, excuse me when I turn around, and I'm trying not to tangle myself up. It's a little dovetailing tool, so I'm just going to put a dovetail into there. There we go. That should be enough for the chuck jaws to grab hold of. Next thing is, yeah, I'll put a little bit of design in here, so just sort of get rid of these tool marks. So we'll lower that tool rest a bit. There we go. And what I'll do, I'm just going to put three marks in it, just to make it maybe 5 actually. It's quite a big ring, that. Only eyeballing them. 5, oh, I even get 7 in. There we go. That looks pretty. Next I'm going to curve the bowl round. It's a straight round. I may just leave just enough at the base here to create a shadow, so I might have just a little bit of an OG bit at the very bottom, only very, very small though. So I'm going to start taking away some of the material on the corner here. Excuse me while I cough. So yeah, so we're going to round this completely now, so I'm just going to yeah, dusty. I normally wear a respirator style, you know, either a Trend or the VersaFlow when I'm doing this, but it's very difficult to talk with those on your head. Right, so let's just move this around the corner a little bit. So I'm going to leave just a little bit here to create a shadow, and it'll sit on about 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to take that down, only about 1/16 of an inch. It doesn't need to be a huge amount, but then my curve will start from there. Ooh, lots of this. Just making sure I haven't disappeared into a fog of dust and oh, bless you. I'm going to try and get the curve as even as I can, right to the, from that point to the top here. Okay, I'm just going to, again, just disappear out of shot for a minute. Find a scraper. I'm just going to scrape the outside of the bowl. Yeah. It's a negative rake scraper, which is really very, very forgiving. Just got a little bit of pull grain on the end grain there. Obviously it'd take a lot longer than I am to do this. And then sand it back to about 320. It's up to you, of course. It's going to be oiled afterwards. So I'll sort of call that quits there for now. I will come back and finish it off again. But it's going to sit on, can you just see, yeah, little rim there, which just creates a shadow underneath the bowl. Ooh, what's happened here? Ooh, have you lost me? I'm still there. Ooh, there we go. My screen did funny things then, not quite sure what. Yeah, so it take a lot longer than I am to do this, but obviously we've got limited time tonight. But lots of sanding. If I do sand it, we're going to disappear into complete, because this wood's so dry. So now we're going to take this off here. And mount it onto a big, so we can change my chuck jaws in the background, which is good. Oh, it's me. Gosh. So I'm just going to strip this off here. Let's go back to that camera. Yeah, these are only held on with what's that, 1 1/4 inch screws. And a 4. There we go. Well, that leaves enough room in the middle there for the, you know, in the middle of that to create the island for the cracking the nuts. So, right, jaws are changed. There we go. This way you find out you haven't cut a hole big enough. Oh, I've done that before now. Right, so I'm going to open these now into that recess I've created. And it doesn't need a huge amount of pressure on them. Right, so what I want to have a look at now is where I'm going to drill my, cut a little island. And I know if I can find my compass, there it is. The island needs to be about 60 millimeters, so if I set these to 30-ish. There we go. Something like that. It's not exactly in the centre, but that's how big my little island's going to be. And then I know I'm going to go to about, leave 1/2 inch at the rim or thereabouts. So just make another mark there, and then I'm going to go down the centre here, and you can see it. Ooh, I'm just taking my pencil line off, but I've gone right the way through those screw highs with that, which is good because I'm going to cut all those away in a minute. So sticking with the bowl gouge, and I'm going to start cutting away some of this material. There we go. And I'm going to start from the rim, well, near the rim, and go back this way, and then come from the centre outwards. Say again? Got the picture? Sorry, somebody said they haven't got a picture, or they have got a picture. Is that alright? You can see what I'm doing there, yeah? Ah, okay. God, it's so dusty this. The lenses are going to fog up shortly, and the cameras, I reckon. I'm right on my pencil line there, so I don't need to go any further towards the rim. I'm going to start taking out towards the centre now. Have I got another camera? Yes, I have. This screen, my visor. Is that any better? Yeah, okay. That chattering is me losing the bevel as I going in. These are quite a sweat-back bowl gouge these. Plus I'm trying to take off too much material at one go. What I want to try and do now is match the inside of the bowl to this curve on the outside. Oh. Flatten a little bit, let's start with that bit. And the idea is now that we create a channel in there which is symmetrical. Right, just going to change my bowl gouge for something a little steeper. If I can find it. There it is. This is more like a traditional grind on this one. It helps you get in a little bit better. But you can see by the fact it's so steep, I'm having to put the handle way over here. So I'm just going to have a rough feel here to see how I'm following. I could afford to take a little bit more off the bottom here, it's still quite thick near the base there, which I shall do. Just a little tiny bit more at the bottom there. Tiny bit more there. Okay, that's more or less the shape I'm after. I'm just going to do something with the rim now, just to flatten that off a bit. Just a touch more. It's got a little tiny lump right at the very bottom, which I'll try and get rid of, and then okay, so that's the shape I'm looking for. So I just need to do a little bit of finishing on it. It says looking for his finishing tools. Again, I'll probably use a scraper. I think it's probably the easiest thing for now. Again, I will come back and refine this a bit later on. So this is a sort of French scraper, I suppose they call it. And you want to present this just slightly trailing and on centre. It's quite a way over the bar here, so you just need to be very careful with it. That feels quite nice, that. Right, so that now leaves us the bit in the middle here, which is where you're going to eventually crush those nuts. So I'm going to take a slightly smaller bowl gouge. Have I got one of it? No. These are in here. So I'm going to again put the little bevel in there. Let's flatten it off first. And then yeah, so I'm going to put a dimple in. Not been much luck tonight. I don't know why I'm rushing, because I've got plenty of time. If I was making something like this at the street forge with the disabled clients, something as simple as this, whereas I'm going to complete this apart from sanding in less than an hour and a half, would probably take two days to do. Many of them have only got the use of perhaps only one arm through strokes or other disabilities, or they're in wheelchairs, which brings a whole new dimension to it. And what we do with the guys who are in wheelchairs is we have a hydraulic system which will raise and lower the lathe a little bit. I mean, most of these modern wheelchairs will in fact raise and lower themselves, but anyway, I think that's probably deep enough. Just to check, make sure you can get your walnut in the middle there. Yeah, you get a massive walnut in there easily. And same again, I'm just going to do a little bit of finishing with this. Yep, now with a bit of sanding, that'll come up really nice, and what you end up with is something that looks like, let's come out the other camera, something that looks like this. Okay, finish it all off. Now an alternative to this, let's leave that on there for now, is if you use a screw chuck, you could go all the way through with the hole, and then what you're presented with then is you make something like this. Same thing, I've got I think that's a 22mm hole in the base there, big enough to put a nut with a big washer on it through there, and on the other side I've got a recess which takes a nut cracker which looks like that. So when I bolt that through the inside there, then you end up with a nut cracker like this. So for those who want to make less mess, you can use this one here. This is from Turner's Retreat, this. They're not cheap, it's solid brass. It weighs about a pound, it's huge, which adds a huge amount of mass to this bowl. So this bowl's not going to go anywhere once this is bolted to it. But it's really, really handy for cracking your nuts, so to speak. So, any questions on what we've done tonight? Oh, I must be 8 o'clock, is it? A couple of minutes early. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Now, right, the idea being, if I just put this back here, yeah, whenever you're going to enter anywhere with the bowl gouge, you obviously want to go, so if I was going to enter right at the very edge here, I want my bevel to pick up. So what I would do is I would just very, very lightly touch it to the outside. You can see how far over, let's change camera. Let's change it. Let's change. Yeah, you might see better in here. My handle is way over here. Now when I'm in the center, yeah, same thing applies. I push the handle away until I start the cut, and then I just maintain the bevel as I go down into the bowl. So it's quite correct. The flute is fully closed. Yeah, I'm going in almost with the bevel at 90 degrees. Yeah, and that way it's got nowhere to go really. If you have a firm enough grip on it, you'll just start the cut. So let's see if I can get this going. Yeah, just a nice light touch. Yeah, and there's the cut there. There it started. So now once it's started, I just go down inside. Yeah, if you lose it, of course you have to go. But I'm going in with the handle over there, way over. Yeah. Right, I'm looking at two very, very dusty. Let me just take this off here. My main camera here is a GX7, Panasonic Lumix GX7 with I think that's a 25mm lens on it. It's a 25mm lens. It's covered in dust at the moment. This overhead one here is, again, it's a G7, but I got a 14 to 40 zoom on that. And then this little tiny one here, this is a GoPro Hero 3 from about, I don't know, got that about 10 or 12 years ago. So it's, you know, it works a treat. They're all 1080p. I'm running the G7s at 50 frames a second, and I think the little GoPro will only do 30 frames a second. But it's all being fed into a thing called an A10 Mini, which I can show you if I can bring this around, which is this little device here. Yeah, so I've got all my HDMI feeds going into here, and then I can cut between cameras. I've also got audio going in on that as well. So it doesn't matter what inputs I put into there, it all comes out the same. So if I'm putting 1080p at 30 frames on this camera and 1080p at 50 at the other camera, it will knock it all down to 1080p 30 frames or 25 frames in UK. This is called an A10 Mini. It's made by a company called Black Magic. They're like rocking horse poo at the moment in UK, only because of lockdown, and churches, you name it, everybody's jumped on the bandwagon. And having said that, there are two Lucky Likeys that have just been released, both in the UK, which are a fraction of the cost of this, which do a very, very similar sort of thing. This device here has got loads of add-ons because there's other software running in the background, but I can't remember what they're called now. Now I can't remember what they're called, but they do the same as this. You've got 3 or 4 inputs, and it'll mix all your video together. Yeah, at a fraction of, you want to see my cameras here. Get rid of the dust off that. Yes. Yeah, another short and sweet 1 hour. That's good. I don't want to keep you too long. Yeah, that's great. All right. Yeah, take care, everybody. And I intend to do one more next month, about the second week in December, and that's it. So for this year anyway. But I'll circulate the information as per normal through the club secretaries and things. Yeah. All right, guys. Take care. Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, bye, everybody. Bye, Pat. Yeah, thank you. You still there, Glyn? You need to unmute yourself. Ah. Yes, everything's fine, mate. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I haven't got around to sending that photograph of the pressure pot. So No. Just no. They've got their own valve fitted onto it. Yeah. If you it depends where you buy how you buy them. I bought mine from a dealership who just deals with epoxy stuff, so they don't come with the spray guns. Okay. Yeah. Yes. God, you want to see the state? I should start turning with wet wood. You know, that makes a lot less mess. But this stuff is so dry. I'm surprised. We get it from a timber merchant. It's through the street forge, and it came in like a 12-foot board, 9 inches wide, 2 inches thick, and we made bowl blanks out of it. But I just had no idea how dry it was going to be. Well, I just can't afford to store wet wood and cut it and store the blanks anywhere. I'd need a workshop the size of, I don't know, football pitch, I suppose. Yeah. It's called Street Forge Workshops. No, it's in Thornham Magna. Yeah, it's an I postcode anyways, but it's Thornham Magna, just about 100 metres up the road or 200 metres up the road from the Four Horseshoes pub. So, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, and we say we make some really nice bird boxes, owl boxes, hedgehog boxes, welly wangers, you name it. We make the whole thing. Well, they've got a massive workshop there, 2 big workshops plus the wood turning shop, and I've got 2 lathes in the wood turning shop. They are Herald's, Record Herald Coronet, the new ones, the latest version of the Herald, I think it is. I mean, yeah, well, we can sell you loads of stuff. You can come in as we can fleece you. Yes, yeah, all right, cheers, Neil. All right, cheers, mate. Bye now. Okay, cheers, Clem. Yep, bye now. Right, signing off, everybody. So I'm going to call it a night if you don't mind.